Good morning, everyone. Today we are talking about Trump's reasons for imposing tariffs. Just over 10 weeks after taking office, President Donald Trump launched a trade war on the world with a wave of tariffs unprecedented since World War II. Europe is among the main targets, repeatedly accused by Trump of having exploited the large and wealthy U.S. market. Imports from Europe are now subject to a 20% tariff, following earlier 25% tariffs on steel, aluminum, and automobiles. The economic justifications offered by the U.S. administration, namely the American trade deficit and European protectionism, do not hold up under scrutiny. It's true that the EU has had a significant trade surplus with the U.S., but looking at the full current account balance, which includes €109 billion U.S. surplus in services, the overall balance is nearly even. Regarding average tariff levels, the difference is minimal, 2.2% for the U.S. and 2.7% for the EU. Clearly, something deeper lies behind this apparent economic crusade. Trump's strategy is part of a more aggressive vision of international politics. He has long believed that the liberal economic order and multilateral trade systems of recent decades have weakened America, especially against strategic rivals like China. His goal is to replace this system with a new one based on bilateral deals where the U.S. can fully assert its economic and military power to secure broader strategic advantages. The April 2nd tariff surge was not just an economic move, it was the opening shot in a global offensive that brings unprecedented uncertainty to the world economy and international relations. So how should Europe respond? First, it's important to remember that the European economy is among the most open in the world. Preserving its integration with the global economy is a top priority. Europe must confront the American administration firmly with a strong and unified stance. Faced with unjustified protectionist measures, a firm response is not only legitimate but necessary. The European Commission should prepare retaliatory tariffs and other restrictive measures. Only a credible threat of tough but proportionate retaliation can push the U.S. into a negotiation based on due des, give and take, which Washington has so far avoided. If the EU remains united, which is not guaranteed, its commercial power would be strong enough to stand up to U.S. pressure. Second, the EU must continue to expand and diversify its trade agreements. A deal with the U.S. may help reduce tensions, but it cannot be the sole objective. Trade wars have historically punished those who trigger them, but they end up harming everyone. Europe should strengthen ties with other global partners, especially in Asia-Pacific, many of whom are also targets of U.S. tariffs, and with emerging powers like India, Indonesia, and Brazil. These countries share the EU's interest in maintaining a stable, rules-based global trade system. In this context, the EU should quickly ratify the trade agreement with Mercosur. Italy's vote, notably, will be decisive. Although the U.S. remains a crucial market, it now quickly ratify the trade agreement with Mercosur. Italy's vote, notably, will be decisive. Although the U.S. remains a crucial market, it now represents only 13% of global imports. This gives Europe a real chance to lead in promoting an open international trade system. The von der Leyen Commission has already taken steps in this direction, and these efforts should continue and intensify. The third and often overlooked response lies within Europe itself, completing the internal market. Despite decades of integration, trade barriers among member states remain too high. According to the IMF, these barriers are equivalent to a 44% tariff on goods, excluding agriculture, and up to 110% for services. The causes are various, such as fragmented regulations in areas like public procurement. The result is that intra-European trade is still less than half of what occurs within the US. Completing the internal market would strengthen economic cohesion, stimulate internal demand, and boost European growth through higher consumption and investment. So far, strong resistance from some member states has stalled progress. But Trump's aggressive approach could be the shock needed to push reluctant governments toward deeper integration, making the EU more resilient and self-sufficient in an uncertain global climate. Thank you all. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow for more updates. See you next time.